Beautiful. Welcome, everybody. Welcome again. If you're just jumping in, good evening to you, and welcome to day 2 of the Gentlemen Summit. And we are doing Gentlemen Introduction so far here in the Zoom. And of course, if you're joining in on YouTube, you're joining in on Facebook and on TikTok, you are welcome. Just go ahead and do some introduction of yourself, your name, your location, what you do. You run a business, write a business name, add a contact, tell us what you do. You never know who is going to reach out to you. All right, we are going to start. If you were here on day 1 yesterday and you were impacted and you left with something that you are practicing, like something that you know that you have started putting it to work, go ahead and type action in the chat box. If you learned something that it is helping you to make decisions, go ahead and type action in the chat box. Go ahead. Yes. Go ahead and do that. Beautiful. All right. Go ahead. If you were not here on day 1, of course, the sessions have been recorded. They're on YouTube. Catch up, because what we're doing on day 2 is a build up to day 1. A powerful build up to day 1. And I believe that it will cause a shift in whatever that you are doing. For the ladies, you're welcome. So I saw a couple of comments from some ladies are like, I like the summit, but it's for men. But I learned something that changed my life. That's what a lady said. I'm like, that is good. No problem then. No problem. We are happy to have you ladies here in the call. All right, you're welcome again, everybody. Welcome to every gentleman. Welcome to everybody following on YouTube, on Facebook, and what have you. We are here, day 2 of the Gentlemen's Summit of Impact, Influence, and Income. And we have had tremendous feedback, like even till a few minutes ago, still having feedback of day 1 yesterday. And of course, that is the purpose. That is what we are looking at achieving as far as this summit is concerned. A life-changing transformation, because you are a partaker of this particular conference. And like I said yesterday, you see, like I just asked us that if you learned something yesterday that caused you or is causing you to take action or to make serious decisions, type the word action in the chat box. Why? Because like I always say, if you go through any learning process, you attend a conference, you attend a seminar, you attend a training, you attend a workshop, you read a book, you take a course, anything that to you was a learning process, and after that process, you don't change something in your life, maybe your routine, your habits, your lifestyle, what you input in your process to change your outcomes, if you don't change things like that, you did not go through a learning process. You went through an entertainment process, right? because learning should cause a shift. Like I always fondly say that the acquisition of new knowledge should reduce the amount of suffering that you go through in life, right? Because people suffer because of either too much ignorance or darkness, as you may say it. But when light comes in, the quality or the amount or the weight of that suffering should reduce. Okay, so here on Zoom, I'm happy to see that many people definitely experienced a major shift yesterday after day one. And day two, we are taking it a step further. And I believe that it will mark a shift, a serious shift in whatever that you are doing. So stay with me as we go through this particular journey. So the focus of the June 2025 Gentlemen's Summit has been around impact, influence, and income. And we have been laying a strong foundation from yesterday in terms of helping us to operate from these three dimensions. And today we're going to progress a bit deeper than what we looked at yesterday. But yesterday was the foundation, was like the core pillar. Because if we begin to handle day two and day three, and you don't sort out yesterday, you may still likely end up be the same after a couple of years. Because you see, there are some things in life that if you don't get right, especially certain foundations, you can struggle to build over and over and over and over, and you never see or sustain the quality of results that you are supposed, to sustain or to achieve. And today we're looking at governing your invisible economy to create impact, influence, and income as a man. Governing your invisible economy. Every man, every human being has what I like to call an invisible economy. And it is that invisible economy that creates the external economy. So you will struggle to create results in the external economy. And it is in the external economy that we begin to see impact, influence, and income. And like I said yesterday, you see, impact, influence, and income in any life is a byproduct of a couple of things. And today we want to focus on that. What is that invisible economy? That if you govern that economy the right way, you will be able to effortlessly govern the external economy, which begins to manifest in terms of the impact that you create in your industry or your nation, or the influence that you bring through the work that you do, or the income that you generate through the value that you create, you package, and you monetize. And I want to say that if you will genuinely become a man, a gentleman of impact, influence, and income, this is one of those things that it is not a nice to have. It is a must have. You see, there are some things in this life that you can do without if you don't know. But there are some that if you don't know, you cannot do without. You cannot achieve certain things or be able to do certain things in whatever you are called to do. So today we're focusing on how do you govern your invisible economy that you can be able to use it to create your external economy. And your external economy manifests across three key areas: the impact you create, the influence you bring, and the income you generate. And you cannot become a person of impact, influence, and income, which are the byproduct of your external economy, if you cannot govern your internal or invisible economy. And I keep saying it invisible economy because these are things that they are invisible, but yet their impact is very visible. The quality of what they produce around your life, in your life, through the works of your hands, that the quality of the work is very, very visible. So there are a couple of core internal assets that can either make or fund your invisible economy. There are many of those core assets, right? I'm using a couple of business terms here because it's the best way to explain it. So, for example, when you see an institution functioning so well on the outside, when you see uh, great companies that you all admire across different industries from different countries, you see what you see as the external results that that economy is that company is producing is as a result of certain internal assets that they are able to use to fund the public manifestation that you see of that company. So every company you celebrate outside in terms of the results they're able to produce, maybe great products, great customer service, great, revenue, profitability, market share, market cap, what have you, all those things that you know, we can see in public. Those are as a result of the, the, the ability of the various officers or team members in that company to use certain internal assets to create that public manifestation. So it is the same for you as an individual. If you are going to create that public result as a man that you are attending this summit of gentlemen, you have to understand that there are certain internal assets that you have to know how to harness. You have to know how to govern so you can use it to produce results externally. And these results begin to manifest as impact, influence, and income. You get the point? So we are going to look at what are these core invisible economies that you must understand and govern. I'll begin to look at how do they directly impact your external economy, your external wealth creation, your external impact, income, and influence. But you have to begin to understand that you are a governor. Yes, you are a governor. You are not just, in Cameroon, yes, the United States, Nigeria, many countries, they have governors of regions, states, and what have you. You see, you are a governor also. Apart from, celebrating governors in terms of political offices or administration, you are a governor and you have an economy to govern. And that is your personal invisible economy. And the impact that you will create in your world, the influence that you will bring in what you do, the income that you'll be able to generate based on what you do will depend on your ability to govern this invisible economy. And the question is, what are the internal assets that makes up your economy? That's a very important question. What are the core elements that makes up an economy, that your economy? Because an economy does not operate in thin air. No, there are a couple of things that makes up an economy. If we say, what is the economic strength of Nigeria? What is the economic strength of China, the United States? There are a couple of things that you will find across these nations that makes up the economy. Is it people? Is it equipment? Is it the various industries? Is it the various businesses that operate under the various industries? Is it the informal sector and the formal sector? All of these things contribute to the economy of that nation or that country. And same for you as a man. participating in Gentlemen of Impact, Influence, and Income Summit, you have an economy. You have an economy. And your ability to govern that economy the right way will literally change your life forever. And your ability to sustainably, consistently govern that economy the right way will definitely bring a shift in your life. So we are going to go straight now into looking at what are the elements that make up this economy. I have about 7 of them that I strongly believe from thorough research, practice, coaching different clients across different sectors, and I've seen the impact of this. Like I always say, if you see me bring any topic to train in public, know that I have been working on it for at least 1 year. I always like the things I have to train in 2026, I've started working on them already, right? I never bring anything in public that I've not done some serious research, analysis, practice, testing before I train. So this is not theory. This is practical results. And many of these things, sometimes when I develop them, I always reach out to mentors, to people that I work with in terms of coaching. Guys who are making it big, I'll tell them, look, this is something I'm working on. How does this affect you? And I'll be giving stories of a couple of millionaires, influential politicians that have said, you see, this is how this reflects to me based on the work I do, based on the impact I'm able to create in my time and, of course, in my generation. So follow carefully. Now, the first part of the economy that I want us to address as men, and these things are not in any merit or particular order, right? Don't think that one must be one, two must be two. And you may notice that there are some that you have been doing, and maybe you did not consciously know that this is how important what I am doing is in terms of what I am set to achieve and set to build as a man, right? So, but we're going to pick one part of your invisible economy, the important component. We'll begin to break it down, and you begin to see how you can begin to wield this particular element or asset to govern your internal economy so you can begin to use it to create impact in your external economy. Okay, number one is the economy of attention. The economy of attention. Every man here, you have attention, and your attention is part of your economy. And I'll explain attention in 2 levels. I will handle the economy of attention in 2 levels. Level 1 is where you direct your attention. Where you direct your attention. Why is this important? Because where you direct your attention will always contribute greatly to what you produce or what you achieve. In other words, it is your responsibility as a gentleman to make sure that you direct your attention as intentional as possible. Don't allow your attention to passivity. Don't allow your attention to guesswork or assumption. Don't allow your attention to be wielded by things that are not critical to your mission in life or what you're building as a man. So you pay the price to protect your attention. We are in a digital driven age or economy at the moment. And your ability to protect your attention from digital invasion is very important at this time in history. So, where you direct your attention or how you guard your attention is an important part of you governing your invisible economy. Because if you don't intentionally begin to diversify your attention and manage it, you begin to notice that a lot of time will go by and you are not producing results or achieving results at the level you should be achieving. Why? Because where attention goes, execution follows. And many people don't know that. Anywhere you direct your attention, I guarantee you that is where execution will begin to follow. And I was having a coaching session just a few days ago with an executive, and I said, you are in a stage in your life now where you need to practice attention diversification. I said, you have passed the stage where you're struggling with, what do I eat, no longer living from hand to mouth, per se. He is in the growth stage of building his business. And I said, look, at this stage, one thing that you must do very well is attention diversification. Begin to strategically divest your attention between immediate tasks that can produce results and visionary projects that can produce long-term results. And many of us here as men attending this particular summit, many of us are at that stage. In a stage where you make sure that you guard your attention, you direct your attention, and you don't only end at that level, but you begin to diversify your attention. That based on what I'm doing as a person, I will need to direct part of my attention to immediate tasks. What are those tasks that if you focus your attention on right now and you execute, they will create immediate results? That's part one. Part two of attention diversification is that what other long-term projects can you put your attention to? Can you direct your attention to that? The more you begin to execute in that light, the more you can guarantee that 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you will still be in business and still be a relevant voice in your generation. That's the meaning of attention diversification. But before you get to that level, you need to make sure you are the governor of your attention economy. If not, your attention will be stolen. And we're in a generation where there are so many thieves of attention. 50 years ago, 100 years ago, they did not have the problem of Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, WhatsApp, right? Netflix, Amazon Prime. We have hundreds and hundreds of things that can steal your attention. One of your most important currencies. Show me somebody who is always executing at the higher space, at the higher level. I will show you somebody who understands how to maintain and direct attention at a particular level and make sure that they keep that attention at that level. Why? Because where attention goes, execution follows. So, as a gentleman, if you're going to be able to create an external economy that can produce impact, influence, and wealth and income, you need to understand that one important part of your invisible economy is for you to govern the economy of your attention. Govern that. Pay the price to audit your attention location. Where is your attention going? There are many of us here right now. If I ask us to do an audit, look at the last 7 days. Where did your attention go? At the end, you will start saying, I repent from attention mismanagement. If I have some customers type, I repent in the chat box. You know and you know. You are complaining that, oh my goodness, I am not able to produce quality results in career, business, and this. But like, if we start doing attention audit in your life, we'll have to take you through a journey of repentance. You have to repent from allocation mismanagement, serious allocation mismanagement. But yet, if they put you in front of people, you talk big grammar. You say how you want to change the world, how you want to change nations, how you want to do this and do that. But if we look at where your attention is going to, we're like, wait, is this the human being who wants to change the world? Right? And you're like, but where your attention goes, it does not reflect like the human being who wants to change the world. There is a discrepancy at that particular level, right? So we need to audit the attention patterns. We need to audit where we direct our attention, okay? And one important part, as a builder, Never forget attention diversification. Because many people sometimes they focus all their attention on their immediate task and they forget that they have 10 years to live, they have 50 years to live, they have a long-term dream they need to build. So the power of attention diversification is that you know how to focus on. Like personally for me, there are things I do every day that I know that for every day, there are things I work on. I know that this will give me immediate result. And there are things I work on every day knowing that this will give me impact in 5, 10, 15 years from now. It's very important. And you need to be conscious of that. Okay? You need to be conscious of that. And one thing that you must learn how to do when it comes to attention governance is please learn to withdraw attention from low yield environments. Many people are so good at giving so much attention into environments or into things that bring in low yields, low returns, low impact. Okay? So, if, for example, let me give an example. There's a way you can use Facebook that Facebook can become a low yield environment. And there's a way you can use Facebook that Facebook can become a high yield environment. But what I'm trying to say is that you may need to identify areas in your life that are producing low returns or low results and withdraw how much of your attention you put in that area and redirect that attention to high yield environments. Because anything that holds your attention governs your value creation cycle. Very important. Anything that holds your attention governs your value creation cycle. And if your value creation is not optimum, it's not at the highest level, you cannot be able to be a man of impact, influence, and income because these three things depends on your ability to create value in your industry. So whatever holds your attention governs your value creation ability. For example, if long movies, if you can watch, let's say, a movie for 5 hours every day, that movie or that series or that TV show is holding your attention and is governing your ability to create value. Because as long as you're focused on that, you cannot focus on things that can create your value and elevate your ability to create things that can position you as a man of impact, influence, and income. You see, so attention misalignment will always cost you impact, influence, or income, point blank. It will always cost you something. Anytime your attention is misaligned, it will cost you something. So you need to pay the price. Okay? And to end on this point, I was talking to a lady in a coaching call, and she made a funny statement, and I started laughing before I corrected her. But here's what she said there. And many of us, maybe we have said that. She said, I am not a very focused person. Because I was walking through a coaching program with her, and I said, look, for the next few weeks, you have to pay the price to focus on this. And she said, I am not a very focused person. How many of us are like that? Have you ever said that here? I'm not a very focused person. No, no, no. There is nobody who is a focused person. No. There's no human being born to be focused. In 2025 and beyond, there is nobody. Focus is not a personality trait. Right? You are not born with focus. As a human being, you can be born with everything else. You are not born with focus. There is no human being born with focus. Focus is a choice. You hear me? Focus is a choice. So you cannot be able to govern your attention if you are not ready to make the choice to be a focused person. Level 2, I said on point 1 on the various internal assets that makes up your invisible economy. We started with point 1, which is the economy of attention. And I said I'll handle it in two levels. Level one is where you direct your attention. Level two is how you attract, manage, and monetize attention. If you are going to be a person of impact, influence, and income as a gentleman in this generation, we are now in what I like to call the perception economy. Sometimes I fondly call the scrolling economy. Everybody's scrolling something, right? We are in the perception economy. We are in the attention economy. We are in the scrolling economy. We are in the screen economy, right? And if you are going to wield influence and impact and make income in this generation and beyond, you have to understand the game of how do you attract attention, how do you manage it, and how do you monetize attention. And don't confuse between attention that I'm talking about here and popularity. Okay, this type of attention, you don't suddenly gain this attention. No, you build your way through it. You can suddenly become popular. That's why on Facebook we'll see people who are going they can make fun certain kind of post, let's say maybe half naked pictures or funny kind of things, and they trend at all costs. Give them 7 hours within that day. Give them 7 days, they are no longer popular because another trend will rise up and replace them. But when you are driving influence and authority and attention in this light, you don't rise and fall. You consistently stay relevant year after year because you are not chasing after trend. No, you are maintaining and building authority, influence in your industry, doing the right thing so you constantly remain relevant in what you do. So, about governing your economy in terms of attention, one thing you must pay the price to know how to do is know how to attract attention as an expert in your industry, know how to manage that attention, and know how to monetize that attention. Right. And this is a whole master class. I have about a 6 hours teaching on this. I even have a book on attracting, managing, and monetizing attention. So I'm not going to focus a lot on this because it's a whole setting, right? But like I was saying, if you will know or if you will govern your invisible economy and use it to create your external economy, one thing you must know how to do under your economy of attention is you must know how to attract, manage, and monetize attention in your industry as a gentleman. And when it comes to attracting attention, let me say a few things. Like I said, you can chase popularity, but you don't chase authority. You don't chase attention. No. Many people confuse the two. You can chase popularity, but you don't chase attention as far as industry impact is concerned. No. You become worthy of sustained attention. That's the price to pay. You become worthy of sustained attention, right? So you don't seek to trend. No, that's for babies. That's for people who don't understand the game of attention. You don't seek to trend. No, you seek to transform. And that is how attention stays with you. That is how you can even monetize attention with corporate institutions, with individuals who understand what they're looking for. Because the attention that you attract, you must be able to know how to align that attention with your economy so you can monetize it. Now, many people who seek for trends, many people who seek for popularity, they they end at that when they get it. But if you are playing the game of attention and authority, when you gain attention, you have a plan B on how to direct or align that attention with your economy so you can begin to monetize it. Okay, like I was providing a coaching to an institution, and they were about to do a campaign, and I told them that look, for every businessman here, don't forget this: don't attract if you cannot convert. Don't pay money to do campaigns. Don't pay money to do advertisements. Don't attract if you don't have a solid system in place to convert that attention into currency, into money that people are paying you for. right? Like I told them that, look, if you attract without converting, that is vanity. Likes and comments that don't lead to something solid is vanity, pure vanity. Like, why are you excited? You had 1,000 likes. Like, this is a question I actually asked a lady one time in a group coaching call. Oh, I made a post and it this, and I had 1,000 likes. I'm so happy. And so what? What did you do with those likes? What did you do with that attention? You attracted and you did not convert. That is bad business. That is vanity, right? In this perception economy, if you attract and you don't convert, that's vanity. It doesn't help you, right? So you need to pay attention to these key things under attracting attention. Second part under this is monetizing attention, right? It's a whole masterclass I can do on this, but a few things to remember. You monetize attention the right way through well crafted narrative around your brand. And having a good brand is important, right? But if you are able to go a step further to make sure that you have crafted good and packaged value and offers, it makes it easier for you to monetize attention, because you easily monetize attention when you attract it and you have clear packages and offers that is well communicated, well crafted, that when somebody sees it and reads it, they understand it and they see they need to pay for it. Then you will always be able to monetize attention, right? Like I always say, if attention doesn't land on an offer, it is wasted attention. If you get eyeballs and the eyeballs of people towards you and your business does not land on an offer, on a system, on a structure, that is wasted performance. Okay? So, in governing your invisible economy, in order to use it to create impact, influence, and income, the first asset to govern is the economy of attention. Point two, what is the second asset to govern? The economy of imagination. I'll do my best not to explain too long one asset, because so that I can cover all the 7 assets, right? The second asset, if you as a man, I'm talking to men, ladies, you are welcome, but this is Gentlemen Summit, right? If you are going to be a man of impact, influence, and income, one internal asset, which is part of your invisible economy that you must know how to govern well, is the economy of imagination. What from my personal observation and belief is that many people don't yet understand the impact, the significance, the weight of imagination. They don't understand it yet. And it's a challenge, especially within the African setting. From Asia and North America, they have become so good at it. A lot of private research and so many things. There are even imagination labs and so many things in this part of the world where they're doing that, because they understand that if you will rise, especially in creativity and your ability to create things that will shift your generation, you must understand how to play the game of imagination the right way. So if you will be able to create, to govern your invisible economy, to create impact, influence, and income, one internal asset you must know how to govern is the economy of your imagination. But I want to take us in another route as far as this economy of imagination is, because everybody here imagines. If I tell you where you're seated right now, let's say for those who are not home right now, if I ask you now, can you go to the window on your left in your house? Through your imagination, you will travel and go to your house right now. If I ask you, can you go back to, for those who are done with, let's say, university, can you go back to the university classroom where you had your best classes, even though that is years back? you can go back to your university days and go back to the same classroom where you used to sit and take your best lectures. Same as you can forecast. You can use your imagination and travel into the future and begin to anticipate what may or what may not happen. You begin to do role play scenarios to anticipate what may or what may not happen, right? But I want to take us another route when it comes to governing the economy of imagination, which is where I want to emphasize on your ability to leverage imagination to prototype your future or to create things that can shift your future for good. Where I want to train you on what I like to call becoming your own chief imagination officer, right? And because when you imagine something, you can download insights from your imagination. You can download possibilities from your imagination. You can download even difficulties from your imagination. For example, there are people that decided they wanted to start a business and they imagined the process of starting that business and they ended up not starting the business because through their imagination, they were able to identify some loopholes or challenges or difficulties and they gave up. Another little disadvantage of imagination if the person is not trained well on what to do in that particular case. But what I'm trying to say is that through your economy of imagination as a man, you can download your imagination, right? I like to document a lot. I like to document what I'm imagining into journaling, right? Because one thing that imagination will give you is that it will give you concepts, ideas, perspective that you can now use and begin to research on those ideas. But I want to focus on the power of converting your imagination into viable products, into systems, into structures that somebody can see it and understand it, or you can see it and understand it. Because that is where builders and people who disrupted their generation perform better than many average people. Because when they imagine, it does not end as imagination. No, they begin to prototype ideas and concepts into either viable products, into documents, into ideas, into whatever, but they don't allow imagination to end in their mind. No, they journal it down into a document, into a paper, into a type, document, whatever. But they make sure that anytime they're imagining something, they're documenting what they're imagining. Because it is not enough to imagine, it is important to convert your imagination into tangible concepts, documented concepts, ideas, and even you start, testing products out of it to see what can become of that imagination. Everybody has a mental economy, and your imagination is part of that mental economy. But if you allow just at that level, you would never see the product of imagination. But if you start from today that, you know what, I will start governing my imagination in a way that anytime I imagine something, I will document what I'm imagining. If you take my phone and go under records, on that record, you will hear a lot of things I've recorded, a lot of voice memos, right, that I've recorded. Because sometimes maybe I'm taking a walk or I'm maybe typing or doing something, whatever I'm doing, and then I start imagining processes and steps and concepts. I will just take my phone and press record and start talking myself through what I'm imagining. And I bet you, I have created amazing concepts, consulting programs, training programs, incredible stuff that even companies are using today from that process. Why? Because the moment that you shift from just imagination to documenting your imagination, I bet you will start creating policies, you start creating ideas, concepts, products, services, frameworks, protocols, many things out of it that you did not know that you can create. And the beauty of imagination is that when you start imagining, it just flows. And the more you focus to imagine, the more you go deeper into what you are imagining, and you begin to see more possibilities than you ever thought that you could see. Okay? And unused imagination is actually causing you trouble because you are losing more when you are not tapping into your economy of imagination to create concepts, ideas, products, systems, whatever that you can create. And the challenge is that people with unused imagination, they easily give their imagination to other people to use it against them. For example, when you have, let's say, this is something that I experienced with somebody I was working with, right? The gentleman was struggling with pornography and doing coaching and different things. And I said, I challenged him, tell me, do you have any long-term dreams you're working towards? Do you have long-term visions, long-term projects? And funny enough, he did not have. I said, okay, we're going to create a couple for you. And I want to challenge you. Spend your time to begin to imagine the possibilities and the step-by-step process. As you're doing that, document it. Document what you will do in 2026 to achieve this goal. Imagine what you will do in 2027 to achieve this goal. Imagine what you will do in 2020, in 2030 to achieve this goal. That was how we beat that addiction to pornography. You see, because as long as the wrong images were renting space in his mental economy, the more he was directing his energy and attention into that light. That's why I said that people with poorly used imagination, they are always susceptible to other people renting their imagination to use it against them, against you. You see, that's why you need to guard your mental economy, because your rising and falling in destiny depends a lot in how you use it. Okay, so you are either expanding your mental economy or you're bankrupting your mental economy. As simple as that. Because every economy is either expanding or bankrupting, right? Or it's being destroyed. There are some economies in Africa, I don't want to call names, and some countries, I don't want to call the particular countries. We know them, right? There are some countries that freedom of speech is not free. So if you try, you're in trouble. But there are some countries that the economy is being bankrupt every single day, right? Instead of the economy expanding. Why? Because an economy can never be neutral. An economy is either expanding or that economy is being, is going through some form of bankruptcy. And it's the same for your mental economy. It is either expanding in value creation or it is going through some bankruptcy with the kind of things that you are feeding that economy with. Okay, so ensure that your imagination is guarded. And one challenge is that many people also think that imagination is fantasy. No, imagination is not a fantasy. It depends how you use it. For example, one thing I like to do is I like to imagine my training programs. When I create my content, I create and okay, you know what? This content is 1 hour, 30 minutes. I like to imagine every 10 minutes. I like to imagine if I'm doing a physical event, I like to imagine people nodding their heads. I like to imagine people smiling. I like to imagine the kind of workshops or teasers. I like to imagine the whole process. And the more I imagine it, the more I correct my content, the more I begin to notice that, when you get to the 30th minute, do this, say this, or do this, it creates a better atmosphere for the training program. That's why I said imagination is not fantasy if there is purpose for it, if there is a mission for it, right? Imagination is your forecasting tool for you to discover unforeseen economic opportunities, influence opportunities, impact opportunities, or income opportunities. Right? So begin to treat your imagination and the things that you download from your imagination as potential income, impact, or revenue assets. Oh, yes. Everything that when I'm doing imagining anything I'm working on, I always say that, look, through this process, I can literally begin to download something that if I work on, I harness it, I expand it, it can become a potential revenue, impact, influence, or income producing asset. Okay, so please guard your economy of imagination. Don't leave it to chance. Don't leave it to chance. Guard it. Guard it. That is your intellectual real estate. Right? That is your intellectual real estate. It's very important. Begin to view your mental space. Begin to view your imagination as premium property. Begin to create control systems around what you see, what you feed your mind on, because you know that that is the strength of your value creation. You see, let me say this here. There is a intellectual guarding protocol I created about 2-3 years ago that many people use now, especially clients and mentees, and it is counsel on how to go to bed and how to wake up from bed. And I have had incredible feedback. And I always advise people that if your normal bedtime is 11 p.m., discipline yourself to minimize what you consume with your eyes and what you feed your mind on 1 hour before bedtime. Don't leave mobile phone, social media, and go to bed directly. Don't leave watching TV and go to bed directly. It is doing you a disservice. I don't have time to explain why, but it's doing you a disservice. But let me challenge you. If you want to try this for the next 21 days and you see what I'm telling you, try this protocol. If your normal bedtime is 11 p.m., right? Challenge yourself to make sure that by 10 p.m., you reduce or you totally go offline as far as your social media is concerned, right? Stop TV watching if you watch TV, movie watching at 10 p.m., okay? Those kind of things. And then before you sleep at 11 p.m., discipline yourself and train yourself to focus on any high value mental activity, like reading a book, like listening to a podcast in your industry or in what you're building. Or if you're in a good neighborhood, you can take a walk. Or you can go to the gym, then come go to bed. But do something that is high value driven, that can either contribute to your human spirit, to your soul, or to your body. Do that and then go to bed. Do that for 21 days. I bet you will notice that your thinking capabilities will increase. Yes. You will notice that the strength of your mental intelligence will be different. And then when you wake up, also minimize that, right? When you wake up, your first 1 hour, avoid your phone as much as possible. You can use your alarm on your phone when you wake up. I use my alarm on my phone, but I wake up and I stop it. That is it. I'm not touching you until after some time, at least 1 hour and above, right? Not TV, not anything. And within that 1 hour, again, make sure that you do other things that are high value activities to your spirit, to your soul, and to your body. Do this for 21 days. You will see how the quality of your brain will skyrocket, how you think and what you contribute, and even this imagination we're talking about will skyrocket. Why? Because that is your intellectual real estate. And if you are not managing it, you are not refining it. And I always say that one of the few things in your system, in your body, that the more you use it, the more it becomes better is your mind and imagination. Right? like I always wanted to teach this around, I'll tell ladies that, look, ladies, your greatest asset is not how beautiful you look. It's not your front side and your back side. 50, 45, you can no longer use it again to move anybody. Younger people are going to take over you. Right? Same for men. Your greatest strength is not your biceps and your abs and your six pack. Right? There's a certain age that no matter what you do, it's going to keep falling. Right? So you need to make sure that, I'm not saying don't take care of your body, but I'm saying there is something more superior that you can harness and take care of and refine that will keep on serving you at the highest level, even at age 70, even at the age of 80, which is the quality of your brain. Number 3, the third internal asset that you must learn how to govern as part of your invisible economy is what I call the economy of strategic self-conquest. The economy of strategic self-conquest. If you're picking some powerful things that are causing you to think and to take action, type shift in the chat box here on Zoom and on YouTube and Facebook and wherever you're following this. Go ahead. Go ahead. Give me some feedback. Are you picking some things? Give me some feedback. Type shift in the chat box. Type impact. Go ahead. Give me some feedback. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right. I wanted to be sure that I've not left some people behind. Is somebody making some life-changing decisions already based on what you're learning? I believe so, because that's my heart cry as far as this gentleman summit of impact, influence, and income is concerned. Guys, look, there are things that when you know and you execute, you can never be average in life. You will always be a voice in your generation at all times. And this is one of those things. Okay? It's one of those things. All right. Happy to see all of that. All right. Let's look at number 3. Let's look at number 3. What is the third internal asset? What is the third internal asset that you must know how to govern as part of your invisible economy? Remember, the key topic for day 2 of this Gentlemen's Summit is governing your invisible economy in order to create impact, influence, and income. And we have been looking at, we're taking one key internal asset that makes up your invisible economy, and we are explaining it. And now we are in asset number 3. What is the third internal asset that makes up part of your invisible economy? I call it the economy of strategic self-conquest. Remember, again, these are things that are within your control. You can do them, you can advance them, you can expand them, you can do something with them. And the more you begin to do these things, you begin to wield these assets, they will be directly contributing to your external wealth creation, to your external influence, to your external impact. Right? All right. So, point 3, the economy of strategic self-conquest. You have to conquer yourself. You have to strategically know how to conquer yourself. You have to come to a point in your journey as a gentleman where you develop a rigorous personal self-discipline system that can put you in charge as far as your life is concerned. Your life is not driven by emotions. Your life is not driven by motivation. No. Great men don't build things on motivation. Motivation is for babies. Self-discipline is for the big guys. You want to do big things in your generation, pursue self-discipline and not motivation. Because motivation means that the day you are not motivated, you will not do anything that makes sense. And if you don't have motivation for 1 month, your destiny is in trouble. right? Self-discipline or strategic self-conquest will begin to push you to begin to do the things you're supposed to do, whether you feel like it or not. This is a stage of your life where, as a man, you systemize self accountability. You create a system around you to make sure that you keep yourself in check as far as self accountability is concerned. You come to a point in your journey where you are building the right high value habits that are anchored not on anything common. No, they are anchored on your mission. They are anchored on your purpose. They are anchored on your vision. They are anchored on you being on a mission to being a man of impact, influence, and income. The economy of strategic self conquest. You create systems around you. You develop rigorous personal protocols for self discipline to keep you in charge, not to allow you to be a man that emotions can just move you anyhow. Motivation, when it's not there, you cannot do anything that makes sense. When you are not happy, your business begins to suffer. When you know, everything around you can literally begins to control you. No, you are not governing your invisible economy the right way. And for you to do this, you have to understand that it is your responsibility to govern the economy of strategic self conquest. That is your job. Nobody can do that for you. Nobody can do that for you. You have to pay the price to begin to build or develop your own playbook. How can I lead myself? How can I ensure that every single day there is a systemized system that enhances my self accountability? There is that systemized system. I was talking to somebody and I said, I don't trust myself that much. That's why I have a mentor. And we were laughing. I said, yes, that's why I have a mentor. Because there are people who claim that, no, I don't need a mentor, I don't need this, I don't need that. And they don't trust themselves. And they don't do the things they're supposed to do because they cannot even hold themselves accountable. So, one way that I have created or systemized my own self accountability and ruthless execution and self examination system is I have a mentor. I have somebody I look up to and who holds me accountable. You see, that is important. That is important. And one important thing that strategic self conquest will do for you is that it would help you to always, this is what I came to learn as far as my life is concerned. I came to discover that when I'm about to make a decision, I look at three things. What is the risk involved? What is the upside? That means what is the big breakthrough involved in this if I go through with this? What is the mission fit or purpose fit? Right? And this came about because of my commitment or my push to ensure that I have the right system around me in order to govern the things I do. So I started noticing that when I'm about to make a decision, I look at, okay, what is the risk involved in this step? Am I willing to take this risk? Good. Okay, what is the upside? What is the breakthrough? What is the good news that will happen to me if I make this move? Oh, great. Oh, what is the purpose fit? What is the mission fit? What is the vision fit? How is this thing advancing my ultimate purpose and mission in life? And you see, when you're a person of strategic self-conquest, you begin to make moves based on that. Even a friend invites you to go for a hangout, you will think in this dimension. What is the risk of me going out with this person? The risk may not be external, but the risk may be what you're going to lose internally. What if there is something important you do every day at 9 p.m.? If you choose to go out, you are risking not doing that thing that you do every day that is important to your destiny. Okay, going out. What is the upside of going out? Oh, if I go out with this friend for this event, I may likely network and meet important people that are important for my work and purpose. Okay, that's the upside. Let me go out. Oh, what is the mission fit? What is the purpose fit? How is this going out fitting my purpose and mission as a career person, as a gentleman, as a business person? Okay, this going out here fits my mission in this way, in this way, and this way. You begin to think in this direction when you have strategic self-conquest at play in your life. But again, if you are going to govern your invisible economy that can directly create impact in your external economy, you cannot do it without the economy of strategic self-conquest. Because there are many things that will depend on that. And day one yesterday, a big part of day one is about helping you to ensure that you develop the right strategic self-conquest. Why? Because when you are able to discipline yourself and be in charge of yourself and not the flesh, as we say in a church setting, and not your human desires, and not your comfort zone being in charge, and not your emotions being in charge, you will always, at a very high level, make moves and decisions that will always advance the course of your life and your ability to create impact, influence, and of course, income. Okay. And that's why when you look at your strategic self-conquest and you look at your emotional intelligence, there's always a strong relationship. People that are very good at, conquering themselves and keeping themselves at bay and doing the right discipline to push themselves to do what they're supposed to do at the right time and how they're supposed to do it, people like that are highly emotionally intelligent. People like that, basic gossips does not move them anymore. They have outgrown that level. They don't allow bitterness from things that don't make sense to move them because they are chasing a higher purpose. There are certain backbitings that don't move them. Why? Because they're in charge and they decide to guard where they direct their attention, and they focus on not focusing their attention on what people are saying in terms of like gossip or backbiting, and they focus on being mission driven. Why? Because of strategic self-conquest. It enables them to maintain high emotional intelligence. And when you are good at emotional intelligence, you master what I like to call emotional allocation. Emotional allocation is when you are able to, you know how to divert your energy and emotions to do the right thing. So, example, there are things that I like to do. Many of my important projects and writings and concepts and design and strategy development, I like to do them between 12 a.m. and 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. That is me doing emotional allocation or energy reallocation or focus reallocation, because I don't like to waste prime energy on things that don't make sense, right? And if you're able to know how to prioritize where you direct your emotions, your prime energy, and your focus, you always achieve more and faster. Because these things are prerequisite for high level execution and whatever you're building. Okay, so the third internal asset that you must be in charge of as a gentleman who is on the pathway to creating impact, influence, and income, be in charge of governing your strategic self-conquest. Don't leave it unguarded. Don't leave your emotions to guard your life. Don't leave desires of the flesh or comfort zone desires to guard your life. Don't leave what people say or think to guard your life. When you begin to function from the economy of strategic self-conquest, these things don't define you. You have higher protocols and higher perspectives that define you and lead you and enable you to begin to build. There are things that you cannot begin to build and achieve in terms of impact and influence and income if you are not in charge of your self-conquest. Number 4, If you are following, type 4 in the chat box. What is the fourth internal asset that must be part of your invisible economy? Remember, when you get your invisible economy right, when you govern that economy right, I bet you will easily govern the external economy. Like I keep saying, wealth, influence, impact, income, these things are byproduct. There are things when you get it internally, in your invisible economy, those things will look for you. Those things will look for you. That's why I said, under attention, you don't chase attention. You become worthy of attention. You don't chase authority. You construct your way in being a man of authority in your industry, in your nation, and what have you. Number 4, what is the fourth internal asset that you must have and govern in your invisible or internal economy? The economy of R, I, and P. I didn't want to put RIP. Right? I'll explain. The economy of R, I, and P. Right? Or the economy of revelation to ideation to prototyping. This, to me, among many other things in this economy, is one of the most critical, especially if we're talking about influence and income. If you cannot get this one right, you can be very impactful, but yet you're broke. I'll explain. The economy of revelation to ideation to prototyping, right? You see, if you are going to, like I keep saying, impact, influence, and income are byproducts of something. Okay? Always a byproduct. And if you're going to attract those byproducts into your life, one thing that you must be good at doing is you must know how to move from revelation to ideation to prototyping. You must be able to develop a system internally within you that you can capture an idea, maybe through imagination, maybe through reading a book, maybe through an event like this, but you can be able to capture an imagination, capture an idea, a perspective. Then you can distill that idea, break it down, begin to understand it. But you go a step further to deploy that idea, to prototype it, to convert it into a tangible product or offer or value that somebody can understand and pay for it. So you have to move from revelation to ideation to prototyping. Many people end at revelation. There are some of you here that if we talk to you right now, you have ideas, ideas from 2010, even 2011, 2013, right? You have those ideas, good ideas, but none of those ideas have ever passed the revelation stage. Never passed revelation stage, right? But they need to move from that stage to you really going through the ideation phase and even developing a testing prototype of those ideas in order to see, is this idea good for me to advance it into the market space? Okay, so you cannot say that, oh, I want to be a person of impact, influence, and income as a man, and you don't know or you don't pay the price to make sure that when you get revelation of any idea, you move from that revelation into really doing real ideation on that idea. Break down the idea, understand the idea, conceptualize the idea, analyze the idea. When you do it, don't end there, prototype it, test it. You see, because anybody you see that is doing mind-blowing things in any industry, this is what they are good at. And because every idea you see succeeding right now is a product of a lot of refinements, a lot of ideations, a lot of testings, and so on. Okay? Because I was talking to during a mentorship call in the month of June or so. I was telling the mentees that, look, if anything you get in your mind or you conceptualize If you cannot convert that thing into a product, into a service, into a policy, into a system, a principle, something that others can consume, into a portfolio that others can see it, understand it, feel it, and even use it. When it comes to wealth creation, you will struggle and you will always be lost. So, as men attending this Gentlemen of Impact, Influence, and Income Summit, if there's one thing that you have to pick from this summit and pay the price to be good at and do it consistently, is to know how to govern your economy of R, I, and P. How do you move from revelation to ideation to prototyping? And then when you get the prototype right, you can do mass distribution. You can do mass commercialization. You can do whatever you want at that level. At that level, because it is at the level of mass distribution and mass commercialization that you can begin to wield some impact, influence, and income. But many people want to begin to wield impact, influence, and income without doing or paying the price or laying the foundation that those things stand upon. You see, that's very important. So you have to engineer, pay the price of moving from just revelation, but going right down to execution, converting insights into tangible assets. Like I always tell business people, and insights that you don't convert to tangible assets cannot make you money. It is assets that make money. Insights does not make money. It is assets that make money. So your responsibility as a business person is, how do I convert this insight into an asset that can make money? You see? So you have to train yourself as a man to be good at capturing ideas, structuring those ideas into concepts, into portfolios that somebody can understand and see the need for that idea. You have to pay the price to always know how to continuously refine how you get access to new ideas, how you ideate those ideas, how you prototype those ideas, and how you move those ideas from that prototype level to market development and mass commercialization. When you are good at doing this, and again, look at this whole process. You can do it in your room with your laptop. You can do it in your room with a board and a board marker or whatever. But this is something within your control. Like, for example, the marketing and the delivery of this event right now, the Gentlemen Summit, this is the easiest part. The hard part was receiving the idea, going through the ideation stage, perfecting it, prototyping it, developing the content, looking at what is the best delivery process to go through, what content works here and doesn't work here. For example, I had about 10 different topics that I could deliver for this summit. I had to crystallize them and reduce them to top 3 to deliver one each day for 3 days. It's part of ideation. It's part of prototyping. You see, but it all started as a revelation, a possible idea to practice or to execute. But you have to receive it, go through ideation process, research about it, analyze it, look at, will it impact people or not, begin to break through it, begin to reevaluate it, begin to look at what you're going to use, what you will not use, and so on and so forth. Prototype it. Like, for example, different segments of this teaching, I have prototyped it across other smaller training programs in my other communities, and I saw the impact of how people received it. I said, okay, good, this will be good for a bigger event. And then you can do mass commercialization. So please, if you are going to be a man of impact, influence, and income, you have to make sure you know how to do this process, how to gain revelation of amazing ideas. When you gain those things, make sure you go through the ideation process, break it down, analyze it, do research, ask questions. When you're doing that, don't end there. Go to prototyping. When you have prototyped it, do market testing. Test the idea at some level. When you see that it's good, or you refine it, and then do mass commercialization. What is not being consumed by more people in your target market cannot make you a person of impact, influence, and income. Look at anybody making big money. Look at anybody commanding influence and income. There are so many people consuming what they are creating. But before you get to mass commercialization and mass distribution, you have to know how to do the economy of R, I, and P. And let me add this. It's not in my notes, but let me add this. You see, you cannot be good with the economy of R, I, and P, or revelation to ideation to prototyping, if you don't have a good mind. And I said this earlier. Let me say it again. Because you see, an organized mind, a mind that has clarity, a mind that is trained to think critically, creatively, in a refined way, in an organized way, a mind like that is good at shortening the distance between ideation and execution. Many people struggle to move from ideation to execution because their minds are not organized. They are not, their minds are cluttered, their thoughts are cluttered. And that's why you see, personally for me, if you're around me, you know that I got a lot what I watch. Like if you come to a social media feed, you will know that there are things you will never see. I am very good at blocking accounts. I'm very good at clicking not interested, very good at going and saying, I never want to see this kind of content again. And there are movies I don't watch. Sometimes I can stay months, I don't watch a movie. For example, if I have a big event coming up, I discipline myself. There are things I don't watch at all. I don't care how interesting it is. Because I need to make sure my mind is clean, organized, with no funny garbage. Right? Because it is very important if you are going to be able to be good at moving from revelation to ideation to prototyping. Because when you don't have organized mind, your thoughts will be cluttered. And when your thoughts are cluttered and always disorganized, you cannot focus. Like, for example, I do public speaking training mostly in my private communities. Not I don't hardly do public, seminars on that. But one major complaint I always get people is, I am afraid of public speaking because I may forget my thoughts. Anybody here like that? Type me in the chat box. Anybody here like that? Many people, that's one reason they are afraid of public speaking. Because they're like, either I will not know what to say in order my thought to be disorganized or this or that. You see, it's because anybody can overcome that. You have not trained your mind to be organized. You can go through a training to help you do that. It's because your thoughts are cluttered. Your mind is not organized. Therefore, the distance between your mind thinking something and structuring it and your mouth saying it is very wide. Right? Very, very wide. So that's why many people do, as I was saying, things like that. Filler words. Why? Because many people struggle from that organized, thinking pattern. And you can train yourself to do that. And when you are able to simplify your thinking, you always multiply your results. You can simplify your thinking. That means get it organized, get it structured, and you understand the game of value creation, value packaging, value monetization, and value mass commercialization. You will always multiply results in terms of impact, influence, and income. All right. Number 5. All right. It's almost time up, and I think I have 8 points to share. Where time finishes, we stop. Right? Number 5. If you're following, type number 5 so that I know that I have people right here with me. Number 5. Awesome. All right. Good, 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 good. Thank you for the feedback. All right, let's proceed to number 5. What is the feed internal asset that is an important part of your invisible economy that you have to govern so well so you can be in charge of your external economy. Number 5, the economy of identity and conviction capital. The economy of identity. Let me add gravity because that's what I'm going to. The economy of identity, gravity, and conviction capital. You see, this is a very important asset. And I'll explain why. You see, there's something I always teach. I did a ministry known as Kingdom Entrepreneurs and Professionals Fellowship. And I always teach something known as spiritual discrepancy. And this is a spiritual fact, right? Whether you believe in God or not, it's a fact, it happens. And it could be your ignorance, right? But if you desire something and your conviction is not in place to align with what you desire, you always find it difficult to experience the manifestation of that thing. Same as if you pray, let's say Christians will pray. If you pray for things, but your heart is not in alignment, it was something I taught known as the principles of alignment in answered prayers. And I was teaching, and I was saying that if what you are saying with your mouth is not in alignment with your mind and your heart, right, which is where your conviction and also your identity is, you will not be able to move the protocols of heaven. Why? Because that alignment must be there, right? So it is your responsibility that if you are going to attract or build the influence, the impact, and the income, one thing that must be in place in your life is the economy of identity and conviction. That means you must engineer a personal identity that is capable of attracting or bringing into your life the platforms, the relationships, the resources, the opportunities, instead of you having a passive identity that is different from what you are wishing to see happen. No, there must be an alignment, and you are responsible for creating or engineering this personal identity and conviction. Why? Because the wrong identity you have and the wrong conviction you have, you learned it as you were growing up. So you need to unlearn it and relearn and develop the right personal identity and conviction based on what you're building. For example, if you are a business person and when you see that somebody is succeeding in your industry and you begin to wish that, oh, my business will someday be making millions like that business, and I will have multiple branches like that business. Oh, that is good. But have you become, in terms of identity, the person who can lead a multi-million business? Do you have the absolute conviction that that business can someday be a multi-million, multi-branch business? Because if that identity is not there and that conviction is not there, you can wish all you can, but you will not be able to build that business to that level. That's why when you meet people that are doing great things, it is not just the result. How they talk, you hear confidence, you hear authority, you hear weight, you hear influence. When they enter a room, they are not struggling to bring their presence into the room. When they open their mouth to talk, they are not struggling to make a point. No, they are the point. You get the perspective? Because why? They are speaking from an identity. They are speaking from a deep level of conviction. You see that? So, and it is difficult for you to build great things that can bring you to that place of influence and impact and income if you don't have this identity and conviction capital. It is important. You see, like a lady came to me and she said, "Sir, I've been posting on LinkedIn and social media." And I said, "Look, calm down, lady, calm down." I said, "You don't attract what you post necessarily. You attract the weight of your internal identity and conviction. You can make a lot of noise about what you're doing, but if you don't have the internal identity and the internal conviction of who you are and how convicted you are, that's why many angel investors, venture capitalists, and many people, they always fondly say that I invest in the entrepreneur before the business. And when you're having meetings with them, I have privileges to sit on a couple of meetings that some angel investors just invite me to come and sit and talk and see what they're doing, and of course give my suggestions if they should invest in a particular business. And one time I was in an angel investor meeting, and this multimillionaire said he's not convicted, so I'm not going to invest in him. Did you hear that? He is not convicted, so I am not going to invest in him. You see, because there is a way that a person of conviction, there's a way they talk, there's a way they present their ideas, there's a way they present the business. Even if the business is still scattered, even if the business is not making profit, but the way they talk about it, you know that this person is convicted that this business cannot fail. So they invest in that depth of identity and conviction and assurance that that entrepreneur has about themselves. So there is a spiritual discrepancy if what you wish for does not align with your identity and, of course, your conviction capital. So you don't necessarily attract what you say. No, you attract the weight of your identity. You attract the weight of your conviction. Why? Because people can sense, people can perceive, people can discern the weight of your identity and conviction in your voice or the words that you say. So you have to train yourself to develop the right identity. Don't, because it's not something you can fake it. No, you have to become it. You have to internalize the journey that you are embarking upon. Right? So you need to find a way to systemize how you express your identity and your conviction. You need to be good at expressing your identity and your conviction. It could be through public speaking, through presentation, through branding, through leadership, whatever. But if you will continuously attract the right stakeholders into what you're building, into what you're doing, you have to get this right. You have to get this right. You have to go through the process. You have to pay the price to construct and begin to reinforce the right internal identity that must be in alignment with your desired impact, influence, and income. For many people, you need to go through the process of eliminating identity beliefs that are not helping you to become the person you're supposed to become. There are certain beliefs that you have developed over time, from school days, from university days, from the kind of family you were raised in, from the kind of friends you used to have. You developed some belief systems and some patterns that they now define your current identity. And as long as that identity is distorted, your convictions are distorted. And when these two things are distorted, you can begin to wonder, why am I doing so much, but I'm not attracting the result that I'm supposed to have? See, because whether we like it or not, there's a dimension of success that is spiritually driven. And let me tell you, identity, getting your identity right and conviction right is spirituality. It's part of your spiritual maturity. You see, because developing the capacity of your convictions and identity in a way that when you begin to communicate your beliefs and what you stand for or what you represent as career or business, and somebody can feel the weight of what you are saying because you are speaking from an identity, not from what is popular. You're speaking from a place of conviction, not from what you heard that people are doing and is working. You command a different kind of presence and trust from certain types of people. So you need to pay the price. Check yourself. Do you have the economy of your identity and conviction right? Begin to check yourself. Are there certain beliefs that are distorting my identity and my conviction capital that you need to remove them out of your life so you can plant the right beliefs? There are many of us that when we were growing up, there were names that people called us. There were names that maybe family members, they called us. And those names got planted in our subconscious mind. And they distorted our true identity and who we are supposed to be. And if you don't overcome, you will struggle to manifest the influence and the impact you're looking at a certain high level. Okay? All right. Now, let me add this about this conviction and identity. You can only scale, that means you can only expand, multiply. You can only scale what you have the right convictions and identity about. For example, look, there is no serious businessman who will borrow millions and put in a business they are not convicted about. Anybody who does that always end up failing in business. If you interview them, you will know that they had doubts. If you interview some people here right now, they will tell you experiences of businesses where either they took their life savings or they took their, or they borrowed money, put into that business, and that business ended up failing. And they'll tell you that I had doubts. I was not fully convicted. I've experienced that. And I have a business, I've lost millions in it because I had doubts. But I still went at it and I did it for the wrong reasons. Right? And I've had people, I've interviewed a few people in business and they've shared this with me. I say, yes, in this business in 1998, 2001, I had doubts, but yet I still started a business and it failed. Same as there are people that will go extra mile to raise heavy capital because they believe that this business, I have absolute conviction that it will work. If it does not work, I'll make it work. If it does not want to work, I'll make it work. Right? So please work on your conviction capital. How convicted are you about your own future? How convicted are you about your own future? If that conviction is not good, 100%, the way it is supposed to be, pay the price and do that. It is going to help you in governing your invisible economy that is critical for your external economy. Last point, and then we are done for today. Last point. What is the seed internal asset that you must know how to govern as part of your invisible economy, which is important for your external economy? The seed point is the economy of paying to asset conversion. Pain to asset conversion. The economy of moving from pain to asset conversion. Now, this is important because there is no human being on earth that has not gone through pain or is not going through pain now or will not go through pain. Pain is part of life. Going through troubles that will pain your heart, that will bring you heartaches and hurt, right? It's an experience that everybody must go through. It is life. There is nothing you can do about that. You just have to pay the price to go through that. Okay? You just have to pay the price to go through that. But in the economy of invisible assets that are important for you to govern your economy, you need to understand how to move yourself from pain to asset. How can you move yourself from pain to asset? How can you move yourself from pain to impact? How can you move yourself from all that you are going through that they are challenging to you? How can you turn all of that into assets that can create the right impact that you're looking for, right? That's why it is important, because this is one thing that if you don't know how to do, you are going to have issues. Because in this journey of life, trust me, pain will come. The one that you're responsible for, the one you did, the one you are ignorant, the one you're innocent, whatever, pain will come. And it is within your responsibility, it is within your ecosystem to know how to govern that pain. Don't allow pain. There are many people that pain, it has become their identity. That means the pain is so much that it becomes their identity. That's why many people, they get into sadness and even depression as a result of pain, because they allow the pain to become their identity. Right? But knowing how to govern your internal economy in a way that you can learn how to convert that pain into asset, it will always make you a person of impact, influence, and income. Why? Because there are some people that they were on their journey to being people that will disrupt their generation. But yet they did not do that because they experienced something. Maybe they lost someone. Maybe they were duped, or maybe like in relationships, somebody broke their heart and their kidney and their liver and their legs, whatever, and they get angry and they allow pain and bitterness to become their identity or the face of their life. But if you become a person of impact, influence, and income, one thing you must learn how to do is, how can I convert this pain into asset? You must develop the psychological agility or the skill set to convert setbacks, what people say to criticize you, emotional pain, into especially, intellectual property. One thing that I've been doing like in the last 2 years is helping people to convert failures experiences into products, especially coaching products, consulting offers. Why? Because the pain you went through, there are people out there who are willing to pay you in order to avoid going through the pain you went through, or they're going through the same pain, but they are totally ignorant of what to do to get out of that pain. And you see, God designed this life in a way that your pain should be an asset to you, not a liability. And you should rule over pain and not allow pain to define your identity. That means finding a process where you can go through to convert pain into asset through either a structured system, packaged knowledge, but just making sure that you have a structure around you where you can convert adversity into scalable economic advantage. And you see, we are in a capitalist driven society where if you don't know how to use things that you go through to make money, you always struggle, right? There are people that, for example, let me say two ladies, for example. A guy, broke their heart and they stay on the streets, right? And one says, you know what? I'm going to take this and write a book. How to spot a guy who will break your heart, right? Just a funny title I'm thinking about. But another lady will be like, you know what? She will cry over the guy for 3 years, 4 years, and even refuse to eat sometimes, right? Or don't even go to school again. See, these are two people going through the same thing, but one is understanding how to govern her economy to convert that pain into asset. You get the perspective? Because pain can become your asset the moment you give it structure, the moment you give it language, the moment you give it a marketable system. Your pain can become an asset. Let me challenge everybody under the sound of my voice right now. What is that pain you have gone through? How can you convert that pain into either a structure or into either a language, maybe a training language that you can use and train other people, advise other people, or coach other people? Or how can you convert that pain into something marketable? Because if you don't know how to do this, because as long as you are alive, pain will visit you. As long as you deal with other human beings, they will do things against you intentionally or unconsciously that will bring you pain. But you are a step ahead of majority of them if you have a system that you go through in terms of converting pain into asset. So when they're hurting you, sometimes you can be laughing like, oh, I just got an asset here. You see, same like you run a business. People can disappoint you. You can use that disappointment and pain and build a checklist of what to use as a business person to make sure that you don't go through the same thing. That is you converting that pain into an asset. And we are now in the knowledge economy. Your ability to create, let me say, products out of your experiences is very powerful. Why? Because we are in a dispensation where people will happily pay to avoid the pain you have mastered. You get a point? Why should I go through the pain you have gone through if I can pay you and learn what caused you to go through that pain, how you manage the pain, how you got out of that pain, and how you're using that pain for your good? Or why should I waste pain and troubles and problems when you can mentor me or coach me on how to make good use of my own pain and problems? You get the perspective. And when you start doing this, when certain things come your way, they will not destroy your world. And how can you become a person of impact, influence, and income when certain things, when they happen to you, they literally break you so much that your world literally come crashing? It will be difficult. But when you are able to understand that, look, I can live this life knowing how to convert pain into asset always. You get the perspective. And it has been proven that one major thing that qualifies people to lead and to serve, to teach and to train is pain. Pain qualifies you to serve people, to teach people, to lead people, experiences. That is why somebody who has lived life of experiences, different things, they always have a lot that they can contribute. But there's a step further. Like I always say, that pain can qualify you, but what you systemize or what you productize can pay you. You see, you can productize your pain into a book, into a course, into a webinar, into a workshop, into a conference, into whatever. You see, but what you productize pays you. What you systemize pay you. You see, so your past can become a blessing to you if you stop telling on the stories about that past, but you start systemizing that past into products and services and principles and lessons or what have you that others can benefit from you and you in turn make money from the process. The economy of moving from pain to asset. It is something that anybody who is on the path to impact, influence, and income must master. So that you stop seeing when pain happens to you, you stop seeing it as a weapon of mass destruction, right? You start saying, okay, it has happened. Are you hurt? Definitely. You're human. Are you in pain? Of course you should be. You're human. But hey, that should only end at that level. It should not become your identity. It should not destroy you. It should not become the chaotic force against your destiny. Convert it into an asset. Use it and mentor other people for free if you must. That is an asset. But by all means, have the revelation and the consciousness that you see in this journey of impact and influence and income as a man in this generation, my pain will never become my identity anymore. Pain, you hit me, I am going to convert you. Will I go through the process of the pain and the hurt and the emotions? Yes, of course. You're a human being. But you're going through that process now with a higher revelation and a higher consciousness. I'm going to use you, this pain, and I will convert you into an asset and begin to impact different people in my generation. All right. There are two others that I have time to share that, and I'll just list it. The next one is, I think it's point 7? Point 7 is the economy of selective ignorance and intentional blind spots. The economy, that's next one is number 7, the economy of selective ignorance and intentional blind spots. Very important part of your invisible economy. Please don't be desperate to knowing everything. This is something I learned by working close with those who have made it big in their various industries, as you know, as a coach and consultant. One thing I learned about the top 1% is that they consciously choose what to deliberately ignore. They create boundaries around their attention to preserve their mental economy and mental sovereignty. Right? There are things I intentionally don't want to know. Like sometimes a friend is telling me something, what I'm wondering is why is he telling me? Why is it important to me? Right? I create a system around me where I am selective. I intentionally want to be ignorant about certain things. Yes. Because the economy of selective ignorance and intentional blind spots will help you to practice what I call information diet. You stop consuming everything that is around you, and you train your brain and your mind to focus on what is critical for destiny and your life. If you're the kind of person that you want to be in the know of everything you want to know, how does that concern you? You want to know everything going on around you. It's not good for you as a builder. You have to learn how to practice selective ignorance. I am comfortable at not knowing as far as this is concerned. I was reading a book and somebody said, he said, the, one of the highest form of intelligence is not, is not what you know, is what you ignore. One of the highest forms of intelligence is not what you know, but what you ignore. That means you intentionally choose to ignore certain things and focus on what is critical for destiny, right? So smart people claim to learn everything, but wise people filter with purpose. They filter with purpose. They filter with purpose. Okay? So begin to practice how to filter that which you absorb. It's very important. And lastly, the economy of selective association. The economy of selective association. You have to guard your association, right? As King Solomon said in the book of Proverbs, chapter 13, verse 20, that walk with the wise, become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. The economy of selective association, right? I always fondly say that sometimes it is harsh, but it is true. I always say that when you when you choose certain people, you have chosen wisdom. And when you choose certain people, you have chosen foolishness, right? And we as a people, especially men, we have to come to that consciousness where we normalize association with other men who force our elevation. Did you get that? Normalize building strong relationships with fellow men that can force your elevation, not fellow men that you hang out and talk, drink alcohol, talk soccer, talk women, talk things like that. Those things, not a crime. But you see, like I always fondly say, if you will lead your generation, do the opposite of what everybody else is doing and enjoy your life at that level. Okay? So, selective association is not arrogance. No, it's not. It is it is a way to protect your destiny and to advance what you're building. I always fondly say that wisdom chooses who can be close in your circle. An emotional person doesn't care. Okay? An emotional person doesn't care. And why is this important? Because you see, wisdom is transferred through relationships, same as foolishness is transferred through relationship. So choose your transfer. In other words, wisdom is contagious, and so foolishness is contagious. Choose. Choose, right? It's very important. So the economy of selective association is something you must govern. That is it. I could not finish all the points that I have under governing your association, but I've shared the most important that are critical for destiny, right? As I said, we are going to keep the WhatsApp group for the Gentlemen Summit so that there are many of these things that we're going to have kind of once a month webinars or things like that to address them in detail and answer some key questions in that light. But again, I want to challenge you. Never forget this. Your external economy, that is where your income, your impact, and your influence is manifested. That external economy is a byproduct of your invisible economy that we just addressed. If you get your invisible economy wrong, you will get your external economy wrong. because what you produce as result in your external economy is a byproduct of what you do so well with your invisible internal economy. So pay the price. This is a video that you don't listen once and think you got it. But again, go through again. But go through and make decisions. Like I said earlier on, if you go through a learning process and that learning process does not push you to take some actions, make some decisions, and cause a shift in your routines and lifestyle, you did not learn, you were entertained. Because entertainment does not lead to action. Learning will always lead to concrete decisions and actions in what you do. So make some decisions, make some shift, and we'll gather tomorrow, day 3, the last day. We take it to a whole new level. All right? Awesome. Give me some feedback. Were you challenged? Did this cause a shift in your life as a gentleman? Gentlemen of all ages. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here on Zoom, on YouTube, on Facebook, on TikTok. Thank you all so much for being here. And I am happy that it blessed you, it challenged you, and it caused a major, major shift. We had incredible following on TikTok. Incredible. Awesome. Almost 1,000 likes on TikTok. Incredible. All right. Let me see. I think I have 10 minutes to take questions. All right. Is there anybody with a question? If you have a question, go ahead and ask me. Let me check. All right. Thank you all so much for feedback. If you have a question, please drop it in the comment section and I will happily attend to it. 1 or 2 questions and we're good to go. If not, if there are no questions, we will catch up tomorrow for day 3, same time, 8 p.m. Cameroon time. We do the last day of the Gentlemen's Summit of Income, Impact, and Influence. And it will be mind-blowing. All right. It seems there is no question, so I had very, very good participation. All right, people, thank you all so much. Let's stay active in the WhatsApp group. You can ask questions in the WhatsApp group for those on WhatsApp, and I will happily find time to address those as we are building. All right, people, keep building and keep being people of income, impact, and influence. All right, what is the place of gravity in the economy of identity? Simple. Like I said, your identity now will begin to cause the things that are supposed to happen to you to gravitate to your life, right? It's like, what they talk about, the law of attraction, but with identity, when you begin to take steps, for example, have you ever experienced the experience where you are trying to achieve something and it is always as if that thing is running away from you? Anybody ever experienced that? I'm sure many people, right? I used to experience that. You want to achieve something, maybe financial freedom, wealth. You want to do something, maybe opportunities, some platforms, but it's as if the more you take steps towards that thing, the more it's far away from you, right? And many, like I said, you see, success is first of all spiritual. Like I said, building the right identity and conviction capital is spirituality first, right? And there are many things that when you go towards, that's why even people who don't confess God in quotes, when you look at their routine, they do a lot of confession. Do you know why? Because the only way you can or they do confession and meditation, like things around yoga, Eastern meditation, and things like that. Why? Because one of the major way and the fastest ways you can change your identity and build conviction capital is through confession and meditation. The more you say what you desire to happen, the more you begin to build the internal identity, because the more you hear what you say, the more you begin to uproot the wrong beliefs and plant what you're saying. The only way you plant what you want to see in your heart is through confession and meditation. And the two go together, right? So, like I was teaching one time in the other community, and I said that there are some people that when they want to take a step, and if you're here and you experience this, it's a sign that you have the wrong identity and the wrong conviction. For example, you have been called for an interview, and when you pick that call for the interview, and they tell you, oh, we have reviewed your CV and you are selected for the interview, and the first thought that comes to your mind is you'll be rejected, right? Or you're going for a competition, and you notice that there are so many names on the list. And the first thought that comes to your mind is, I'll be the last, or I cannot be among the first three. If you have thoughts like that, you have a problem with your identity and conviction. You're about to go pitch to an investor. The first thoughts that keep coming to your mind is, they'll reject me, they'll refuse me, things like that, right? It's as a result of identity, beliefs, and conviction. Okay? And if as long as those things are there, it will be as if you are chasing things in life and they never come to you. It's as if those things run away from you, because there is a person you must become. There is an identity you must build and develop, that those things gravitate towards you as you begin to take actions towards those things. Let me go a bit Christian a bit. Goodness and mercies shall follow you. Who is that for? That is for somebody who has become the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus. You are not supposed to look for goodness and mercy. No, they follow you. You see, another scripture says in the book of Psalms that I have the inheritance of those who fear the name of the Lord. Right? Now, what does that mean? It means when you become the person who fears the name of the Lord or reverence the name of the Lord, there is an inheritance that gravitates towards you. You get the concept? So that's why I said earlier on that this identity thing and conviction thing is a spiritual perspective first. It's not just an inspirational thing. No, it's very deep spiritually. Okay. And until you get your identity and conviction capital right, there are things that the more you run towards, they run away from you. But when you get it right, when you run towards, they gravitate towards you and you guys meet. You get the perspective now. So that's why I said that. I was talking about identity gravity. That's where the concept was coming from. Is it clear? Did it speak something to you? All right. Awesome. Happy to hear that. All right, people. Thank you all so much for participating. See you tomorrow for day 3. It will be mind-blowing. And day 3, I am teaching on the ultimate law, the ultimate divine law for influence. I'm going spiritual, right? Yes, the ultimate divine law for influence, impact, and income. Why am I doing that? Look, I have been in the corporate world for a while. I have dealt with some people that control power, money, and influence. Well, I'm going in that dimension because there are dimensions of influence, impact, and income that you cannot command if you don't understand certain things about spirituality. Okay, I'll pick just a little tip of that. For those who are members of the Professionals and Entrepreneurs Fellowship, I always teach that a lot there because that is purely a spiritual community, right? But I will teach a lot that cuts between, spirituality and professionalism. And if you get it right, it's going to help you a lot in what you're building. All right, people, God bless you. Keep building. See you tomorrow, same time, 8 p.m. GMT+1. Other countries, convert to your local time. And